everyone, and welcome to the show. Hello everyone, welcome back to Raising A to Z, this YouTube channel all about homeschooling. My name is Amanda. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and you are here for week 3 of my whole series on reading. The first week we talked about reading and structured reading versus balanced reading and literacy and expectations around reading. Last week I gave a whole bunch of tips on getting reluctant readers and kids, just readers in general, to read more. And today I'm going to talk about some of my favorite books when it comes to leveling up your reading. So what kind of books do I recommend for different age levels as you kind of like move through getting your kids on to be proficient and advanced readers. So that's what we're doing today. Before we get into the books that I recommend, go down and subscribe and click the bell so you get notifications so you can get more information and get notified when I put out more videos just like this one. What kind of books do I recommend for reading? A lot of people want to know what kind of level readers I recommend. What do I think kids need to read? Before I get into what books I recommend and what kind of books and why, I'm going to start with my take on leveled readers, because everyone wants to like test their kids, know what their reading level is at, yada yada yada. My take on leveled readers is that they are a load of garbage. I know that's really, really unfortunate. I just don't think leveled readers are the best thing for kids. I think they're really a money grab for parents, being honest. As a teacher who's worked in this public system, I understand why leveled readers exist. Without leveled readers, there would be no way to metrically show progression in children when it comes to testing. And that's what leveled readers were designed to do. It was they were designed to essentially be a testing tool for public school teachers. And then companies started making leveled readers so that parents could buy them and get their kids to read. And leveled readers are just garbage. They're just garbage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you have a leveled reading program that you love. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying there's other things out there that you could buy that are probably a lot more interesting, a lot more influential for your kids. And yeah, I just don't love leveled readers. I don't love them because they assume kids are going to follow a very linear model and are going to be on the same trajectory forever. And so sometimes kids bump down a level or they bump up a level, and it has nothing to do with their ability to read. It has everything to do with their understanding of the content. And so sometimes you have a book where the kids just aren't understanding what's going on, or they don't understand the situation, and they're going to like fail that level because they just don't understand it, when really they probably are just fine. So you have very interesting situations that can happen where kids are either really flying through books and they understand the words, but they have no understanding of the context of what's actually happening in terms of like plot and character development and all of that. Or you have kids who don't understand any of the words, but they understand the plot entirely. So like reading levels are so, they don't always follow certain levels. And so if your kid drops down a level, you're going to be paranoid and terrified when really it could have just been that book. They're going through a little regression. They're going to just take off. It creates false panic when there doesn't need to be. That's one of the reasons I don't like them. The other reason I don't like them is because they are so culturally specific. Because they're testing tools, they're pretty generic, but oftentimes they're very culturally specific. And so if your kids don't recognize that specific situation or scenario or whatever, that can actually affect their reading level. So for example, when we were in teachers college, we had one teacher who was like, the kid kept failing this reading book, and they needed to pass this one to move on to the next level. She was an immigrant child from, where was she from? Somewhere in the Middle East. And she had never heard of spaghetti, and she didn't understand the context of like them putting the pasta, making the meatballs. She just didn't understand the context because it's not something she'd ever experienced, and she could not pass. It took her months, and then finally the teacher had to sit down and make spaghetti and show her what it was for her to be able to pass this reading level, because it was just so culturally specific. She just didn't understand it. That's another problem with leveled readers, is that you can fail them for things just like that, and it's really, really frustrating for the kids because they know that they failed. And then they don't think they're good readers, when really they were basically set up to fail. And the other, probably more important reason why I really think leveled readers are garbage is because they put word choice and word count over other things like plot character development, the morals, setting, all those things are secondary to word count. Reading is not just about looking at words. Looking at words means nothing if there is no character, there's no setting, there's no plot, there's no conflict, there's no resolution, there's no point in reading. And so what you often see is these reading level books are written using licensed characters because they can get around needing to build those things like character development and settings, because you're just like, oh, it's a Paw Patrol book. My kids like Paw Patrol. Oh, it happens in Adventure Bay. We know that because we watch it. So you're getting around all these aspects of reading because your kids have already hooked in on the television, and then the stories aren't interesting. They're very dull compared to like other things that you might read that would be similar levels in a sense. But because they're using licensed characters and their focus is on word count, you're missing all of those aspects that make reading, right? So I don't like leveled readers. I think there are so many better options out there. There's so many better things you could read with your kids that you can find at your local library. And if your kids like leveled readers, like I know my library has a whole section of leveled readers. If they like them, go for it. Like, nothing wrong with it. But I'm just saying, if you're like, I want to invest money into some books, what should I be buying? This is definitely a list of options and how to look for some things. If you want a resource for this, How to Raise a Reader, I will put a link down below. It is a phenomenal book. It talks about the levels of reading. It talks about amazing tips on reading. I think every parent should read How to Raise a Reader. And then at the back, it also has incredible book recommendations based off of level that are phenomenal. And it gives you a little synopsis. It tells you what they are, how your kids are going to like them. And it does, like, I don't mean just like so many books at the back. Everything from like board books to picture books to graphic novels to fantasy. It goes by character values. It goes like so many books. So if you're looking for a great resource, How to Raise a Reader, highly recommend it. I got mine at my library. I have it on my Kindle. If you want to buy it, I will put a link below. It is a phenomenal book and I highly recommend it. But one of the things in that book, which I totally agree with and I've always said, kind of goes along with the leveled reader thing, is that good books are better than leveled readers. And so I'm going to tell you how I move through books with my kids because I do not use leveled readers with them. And I'm going to give you some options for great books that I love. So you have a kid just starting to read. What do you get them? Board books. Board books are some of your best options when it comes to like the very beginning of books. Why? They repeat words. They usually have very simple storylines, lots of vocabulary, highly engaging photos, and you're getting so much information and so much out of them, and they repeat, which is what you are looking for. A lot of those first readers are going to be things like, this is a cat. The cat is in the hat. The cat is in a hat and he sees a bat, right? Things like that. You can get things like that in great board books. ABCs of Canada. I love this book. It's heavily worn, in case you can't see. A is for, and then you're bringing in more bigger vocabulary. A is for Arctic in the icy cold north. Already more interesting. Much better pictures than any leveled reader. Board books. Yeah, board books. Board books are incredible. Then you're going to want to get into small stories, short stories that have, again, lots of repetition. I am particularly a fan of Robert Munsch for this, where you have things that happen again and again and again. If you've ever read a Robert Munsch book, it is the same scenario happens again and again and again, each time kind of leveling up. For example, in Mud Puddle, the little girl jumps in the mud puddle. The first time she gets super dirty. Mommy, a mud puddle jumped on me. And her mother dropped Julianne in the tub. Fast forward a couple pages. Mommy, a mud puddle jumped on me. And her mother dropped Julianne in the tub. Fast forward a couple more pages. Like, it happens again. You're getting that repetition, which the kids are starting to see the words. They're starting to see the words happen in repetition. You're getting that memorization of those basic words. But the stories are so much more interesting. So Robert Munsch is a great option. Another great author that I absolutely love. This is the author that got Alexi taking off on reading, Mo Willems. Mo Willems writes the Piggy and Elephant books. Mo Willems also writes the Pigeon books. Don't Let Pigeon Drive the Bus, Don't Let Pigeon Stay Up, all those pigeon books. Phenomenal books. Not a lot of text, super engaging stories, super funny plots, lots of character development going on. So much is happening, very small amount of text. Kids feel like they have done so much confidence building. They are fantastic books. They are technically a leveled reader series. I consider them more of like a series than a leveled reader. Mo Willems also does have another series about squirrels. Instead of like the pig and the elephant, there's a squirrel series. But they're just the same books. Same kind of very similar styles. Lots of repetition, but also small text, but also great stories. We love them. We literally would check out 6 or 7 every single week from the library, and Alexi that's what got her reading. That's literally what made all the words and everything click. I highly recommend Mo Willems as like a beginner book for reading. From there, you can get into small picture books. So things where there is a little bit of text. And the nice thing about this kind of thing, your kids don't have to read it all. Like, you read one page, I read one page. You read one page, I read one page. Clifford is great. You can definitely get into like all kinds of picture books. Picture books are like the greatest thing ever. I remember using picture books in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade because there's so much you can get out of picture books. You don't have to read a picture book all in one sitting. Your kid doesn't have to read every single page of the picture book. That's where I would move into. So you move out of kind of like your really short stories, you move into slightly longer picture books until this becomes like super comfortable. You could even move from this, once you get comfortable with these, into books that have even more text. For example, like Berenstain Bears. There's a lot of text in the Berenstain Bear book. Great books, always kind of leveling up. From there, you can get into books that are basically like large chapter books where they're still colored pictures. This is a clue. Colored pictures, more text. Colored pictures, more text. They kind of are the transition between a picture book and a chapter book. Colored pictures with text. That is like the level, the key. My girls really like this Princess in Black series. She's a princess who is actually secretly like a spy ninja kind of person, superhero. Fantastic. These are also super popular. Owl series. There's a unicorn series. There's a pug dog series. I couldn't find it right now. It's somewhere in there. There's these diary series, and each book, they're very similar. There's a lot of repetition as well, from book to book. Still colored pictures, still text, moving along, but they're also not overly long. Like this one is only 73 pages. Not too much text, but definitely getting into bigger texts with pictures that are colored. From there, you're going to start getting into, my girls call the black and white books. You're going to get into books like this. Magic Treehouse. Great series. Why we call them black and white books? All the pictures are black and white. You're also getting into where there are pages where there are no pictures. There's picture and then just text. But you'll also notice that these books have a bigger font than most chapter books, and they're also quite short. That's kind of where you're moving into next. The questionnaires books are also fantastic. These are kind of, again, more text. These books are brown and white, but yeah, more text and pictures. So there are pages where there are no pictures. This is kind of like the next level up, right? So those are great books. Also, this one is this is another one, another black and white. Zoe and Sassafras. Phenomenal books. These are science-based books, just like the questionnaires. We love science around here. Science-based books, but they have like a magical kind of element. She finds animals outside her barn from a magical world where only she can see them. And she has to help them through different things. So sometimes she has to help save a seed, or this one is she has to help the dragon. And she has to go through a scientific method process to like help the animals. The questionnaires do a lot of science too. They are fantastic. From there, I like to also, as we're kind of doing these, get into like graphic novels. This is a series my kids are currently hooked on. The Bad Guys. This is, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, Aaron Blabey. Fantastic books. Black and whites. Again, The text is hilarious. The characters are so funny. The situations are incredible. There are also 17 of these. My girls love them. These would be phenomenal for boys. There's an entire chapter in here right now about farting in this specific book, just to give you an example of things that boys would love. And it is not only hilarious, it is crucial to the text. Like, trust me, it is a conflict. It is vital to the story of farting. Like, it is an incredible series. This is book 5. We're on book 5. We started them in September. We've literally read 5 books, just these books, in a month. They're fantastic, and it's a graphic novel, so you're still getting a lot of photos, still getting a lot of imagery. You can still pull a lot of information when you have kids who are still needing pictures for context, but you're getting to more interesting stories, a lot more text. Graphic novels are incredible for reluctant readers or for kids who are maybe a little bit older and still struggling, because you can get very high interest stories while getting low word counts and easier words. Graphic novels are your best friend. So much so, we love graphic novels. We have so many graphic novels in this house. These, I found them at the dollar store. That's one of my secrets. Dollarama has really good books. If you are in Canada, Dollarama. Now, you do have to look around. Some Dollaramas are better than others. For example, the one right close to my house, great for books. The one a little bit further, not so good. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. But these were Disney movies that were turned into graphic novels. So the kids already know the storyline, essentially, because my kids have seen them. But now they're reading along. It's fantastic. They were $3. This one has a price tag that it was originally sold for $10. It was $3 at the dollar store, Dollarama. But again, graphic novels. Lots of pictures, not a lot of text. So you're getting kind of into like high interest, low text count. Great for kids who are struggling with reading. And in the same field of black and white books, another series that my kids have fallen in love with, particularly Zoe. Dragon Girls. Dragon Masters was kind of like, I would assume, the boy equivalent of it. But Dragon Girls has been a huge hit, so much so that she's waiting for the next 3 books for Christmas. Unfortunately, our library doesn't carry this series, which really sucks, so I do have to buy them. But almost all these books you can find at the library. So from there, again, this is a black and white book. Oops. You're going to get into small chapter books. Small chapter books where there is very little pictures or no pictures at all. This is an illustrated version of this book, but short chapters with high interest. I always think Roald Dahl is a great beginner chapter book. This is fantastic. Definitely what you want to get into. This is kind of your first like bigger chapter book kind of thing. And then from there, once you're comfortable with these kind of books, you're moving into the big guys like Percy Jackson. I think that books are a great thing. I did a whole thing about picking books. Like I said, if you're looking for more tips on reluctant readers, you definitely want to go to the last video. But this is kind of like the progression of books as you go through without having to like stick to leveled readers. And I think that is super important when you're reading with kids, because these books are interesting. These books are entertaining. These books are written for pleasure, for information. They're written for kids to get excited, and they're not written for word counts, and they're not written for the number of syllables, and they're not written for this book needs to have this many sight words in it. They're written to tell a story, and that's what reading is about. And so ditch the level readers, go to your library and find some really good books instead. So that's kind of the progression of reading. I hope that gives you guys some tips for finding good books when it comes to books for your kids. And if you guys have any favorite book series, or like what's the book that got your kids like super hooked on reading, please leave a comment below. I'd love to see them. I'm always looking for a new series for my kids, because we do a lot of reading. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe and click the bell when I talk about one of my favorite literacy activities next week. You'll want to stick around and see that. If you want to see what we're reading and what we're doing on a regular basis, you'll definitely want to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.